Welcome back, noble heroes. We return to Mythia, where our characters are headed back to Bridgewalk on the Outrunner that they have retrieved from a tidal wave and defeated Talgrass the Ancient, thanks to the world's strongest man, Roland Tarkan. The others did battle with Dambleth the Old and a deadly crew of pirates who turned out to be more bark than bite. And the characters have saved Might Be a Hero, although he wasn't exactly where they thought he would be, with Looks Like a Rabbit and Is Big, two other meek the characters have not had a great deal of interactions with. But it appears as though Dambleth has stolen a valuable secret from Juniper, that she is, in fact, the de facto leader of the Godmother organization, which apparently is not common knowledge. And we will go ahead and begin this session, Noble Heroes, with a old perspective. Dominaris Clockeye was often mistaken for a sage by his name alone. It held a lofty intellect that his family had prized. Those who saw him in person, though, made no such mistakes. He was a young, gruff warrior with a sandy, ill-kept beard and short hair that he had chopped with a rusty knife. He was thick and bruising, with a mean spirit and a warning eye. He could easily claim a whole table to himself, and no one would ask for a seat. A powerful dwarf fell into his longboat, hidden under the Selenox docks by day, and brought out in secret as night fell deeply upon the city that always dreams. He was working. Practiced hands made quick preparations of his vessel, and he brushed off specks of fallen dirt that had covered the seat for his esteemed guest. He looked over the dock floor from his lower perch, a bit nervous now that his preparations were done. He always wanted to be working, or else the doubts crept into his thoughts. He could be elsewhere even now, not hunched over like a criminal. But that was exactly what he was. He knew himself. A killer. A criminal. His mind trailed off as he saw a figure appear. He heard nothing as the wraith-like entity glided into view from the night, an even darker slice of midnight. Dambleth had arrived.
Greetings, Roman. Zio has informed me that you are a competent guide. I hope he is correct. Take me to the Ishan Spike.
When Dambleth stepped into the boat, it did not rock. A slow buildup of pressure equalized the weight across its build as the creature landed and sat. The night waves were as calm as possible as the oars dipped beneath the opaque waters, just a little less dense than Dambleth himself. Looking over the creature's writhing form closely, it seemed like living ink. Trying to pry into the mask of eternal darkness over the face was fruitless, and caused Dambleth to turn angry red eyes towards him, like dying stars in the sky, to notice.
Many who have my ear tell me of your prowess,
the living nightmare spoke with a voice that had a small echo behind it.
I like to work.
He got the words out, trying to regain his composure before this grotesque monster.
Do not be afraid. This mission, like so many others, is an effort to free men like us from the shackles of the manipulators.
At his questioning glance, Dambleth continued,
Beings like Yanjasi and the Godmothers who try to bind our hands. They seek to limit our power that we so rightly deserve. As an Ascended yourself, I am sure you feel this. The world of Mythia is our birthright by fate, and yet they pluck at its strings like a harp until they change the song it sings.
Dambleth was sounding more and more convicted now. His words were mesmerizing. The hate was mesmerizing, like watching lava burn everything away. He did feel a pull towards greatness, towards this type of thinking. He had a lot to learn. Dambleth's words lit a fire inside of him. He could leave the shadows of shame and show that he was worthy of everything fate had dealt him. He would make a good first impression to his new boss.
My friends call me Dom.
Dominaris Clockeye said, as his hand extended. Dambleth's arm extended as well. A hand of darkness formed at the end of a long, tentacle-like nub. Dom bravely shook it and felt numb. He was one of Satan's hand now. He would show his brother that he was just as mighty. He would show his father that he was a great man. He would show himself that he wasn't a failure.
Boy wasn't kidding when he said he had a dark past.
Ah.
But is he done with Satan's hand? Is it the
Oh.
past?
Guess we'll find out eventually.
Yeah, probably painfully.
We begin on the Outrunner at sea.
I need a second. Because my brain is reeling back for all the times this one been unaccounted for.
That's why I was so upset when 2 different people have not called him on it. And I'm like, but my character doesn't know, so I can't
No,
say
like, I
anything.
need a second to, like, decompress
Who's
that I
the
don't
other
know
character?
this.
Like, so had both of, like, Isaac at one point.
Daniel, that's something you would end an episode on, not start an episode.
Well, one time he was speaking to
I don't
Isaac.
think you can do anything about it right now. He's not here.
I know he was. He was speaking to Isaac once about, like, he'd been up to something in the city, I think. And
He
then,
spoke at the bar that he knew a guy at
yes.
after he'd asked if he had been poisoned.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something suspicious going on
But
there.
there was a second person? I thought it was just Isaac. Who's the
I
other
thought it was-
person?
It was Isaac twice.
Oh, it was Isaac twice.
Well, then again, Isaac is also the person who
Who
never
keeps
mentioned
secrets.
about Rafe and the vineyard. So, you know, it's not surprising he was advanced to by Pitt. Sorry, dude.
That was awesome. All right. We're on the boat.
The jury asks Isaac to come to the podium, please, and defend himself.
All right, we're on the boat, Daniel. You can
Sorry.
continue. I just needed a second, dude.
I knew it.
All right.
Okay.
We begin on the ship. It is quite late at night, and Juniper and Rafe are quietly muttering to each other on the front port side of the ship. Meanwhile, Isaac and Roland are down under the deck, near the brig, where Isaac has the Guardian's eye. Hero is with his newfound friends, trying to calm them down from the earlier day's excitement and get them into some decent clothes. Meanwhile, Euphemia is going about her duties up on deck now that she has taken a look and realized there's seemingly no imminent danger coming from the conversation. And Euphemia and Bali are going to meet, headed up the stairs towards the wheel where Bali is currently steering the ship. "How's it going, Captain?" she says towards you. You're about 5 feet away and maybe 4 feet up.
Yuffie would approach. Well, somehow we're all alive. I guess we have that.
What are they muttering about? She gestures her head over in the direction of Juniper and Rafe. And what's wrong with Isaac?
I'm not sure that anything is, well, anything more than usual is wrong with Isaac.
She gives you an...
shade.
She's going to sort of... it's not quite an eye roll, but it's something close to that. Sort of a not surprised expression.
She'll continue. He brought something odd with him that seems to disturb Juniper.
What is it?
I don't exactly know.
Oh yeah, we never talked about
Great. Unknown items are the best thing we want on the ship. I'm so glad. Not one of his other weird creatures, is it?
I don't think so.
Yes, he said to not have Prongor, so he's making a new one.
Making a new Prongor.
She gives you a sort of droll expression and then kind of a challenging, like, well,
No. He doesn't seem to have mastery over whatever this thing is.
Great.
I'm not sure we're going to be keeping it on here much longer.
Well, as I steer the ship for a little while longer, I'll leave the investigation to you, she says.
She gives like a little like aye and walks away.
Captain, she says at your back before you leave, suggesting that perhaps your conversation continue a moment longer. As you turn around back towards her, she's going to say, how much do we like that new big meek?
Are you concerned about him?
We really could clean the poop deck. And he's a big guy.
He wants work, something to do. I think he honestly wants to join the crew. We do have tasks we could assign him.
And a hazing phase to go through.
I'll leave that to you all.
Or
Once-
maybe we can use our prison labor for the job.
About that, she says.
What are we doing with them?
I want the whole crew to have input. There's one among them that I'd like to question a little further. He's young, she says.
So were we.
I know.
And we were bastards then.
I know.
Just so you don't get the way that you get around a young, kind face.
Is his face really kind, though?
He did have a sort of dull innocence to him.
And out of game, he was a halfling, right?
Correct.
Yeah. I know. That's why I'm not making the decision alone.
Taking advice on Captain. That's new.
Even I can learn if a lesson is beaten into me enough times.
Has Dom had some time with you then?
Dom, you, and the rest of the group. I guess I...
Get a little scared of Roland's demonstration with his lance?
No, not him.
You know, I don't think Western is very intimidated by Roland's lance, if you know what I mean. She says, looking down towards Western, whose sort of arms akimbo crossed on the just below the stairwells.
What lance are we talking about?
You
so
think
not there.
Yuffie covers her face a little bit, and there's a little bit of a childish giggle that the rest of the crew doesn't usually hear from her. I think she's rather interested in his lance work.
Speaking
actually.
of which, she's not the only one she's interested in. She's been giving you eyes, too.
Western?
Maybe it's because you stuck your hand into her, and she doesn't know what you did.
I can keep her in suspense, then. She's not typically a fan of halflings, you know. That much I was able to get.
Great.
Hey, I got her back on behalf of halflings.
No. I was thinking about helping her, but, you know. Don't worry about it now.
Roland's like, yes!
So, from what I've been given to understand, the godmother was the one who pulled the ship out of danger this time.
Honestly, I just assume that that's always the case, and she doesn't really do anything. She just kind of blinks at things and they fix.
What do you think about that? She says, and there's a little bit of unease in her voice.
Ship survives another day.
Yeah. And then she looks out over the deck. But from what I'm given to understand, that woman can alter reality with a blink.
Well, if we're being cynical, as long as you can alter her, I'm not super concerned about it.
She gives a little half smirk. Fair enough.
Plus, I'm pretty sure angels don't make friends with people who aren't good. Although, he cursed, she says in your direction.
When?
Well, during the fight. He was screaming it, actually, as he was being lambasted and ripped apart by those devils.
Naughty angel.
I'm sure that a devil, even an angel, gets a curse when he's being whipped by a devil. Isn't there a brothel called that?
Whipped by a devil?
I think it's in Salinox. Isaac's probably been there. Why don't you ask him over dinner? She gives you a wink.
She just looks abashed and walks away, shaking her head.
Roland, as you are standing adjacent to Isaac, Hero is going to open the door, flanked by the huge Meek is Big, and you're fairly sure that you can see a golden tinge to the darkness behind him in the chamber, the bed chamber, as he sets up the two Meek inside the room and is now finished coming out into the stairhold. He's going to kind of open his eyes wide at the tension in the stairhold between you and Isaac. He can't really see Isaac beyond your big shoulders and height. What's going on? He says as he catches on to the winds of emotions happening.
I can't remember. I was sleeping when Hero came on board. Is this the person I've seen him?
No. Oh no, yes. Because you stated that you were downstairs.
Excitement down there, didn't you? Forgot about that.
He blinks for a second. He goes, "Oh, that's right. You're back."
He kind of gives like an awkward smile. You forgot?
I was asleep, man. I got real beat up during the fight. He kind of moves between Isaac and Hero so that what Isaac's holding, maybe he can try to not worry Hero with it. If he picks up what I'm trying to do, maybe he will. We can avoid doing this with the kid. But
Isaac, what are you going to do with that tell from Roland?
Okay, you have to move. So do you.
So what exactly is Roland trying to hint at me here?
I'm trying to protect the kid from worrying about whatever the hell you're holding.
Okay. Isaac picks up on that and he tucks it away out of sight.
Where?
He just looks like he's
It's pretty
tinkering with
big.
his usual stuff.
Like a serving plate size?
So do you just put it behind your back?
Well, no, like all my shit's in a pile on the floor, right? Because they cleared out my room for the prisoners.
So it's on a pile in the room that Hero is currently standing in the doorway of the bedroom.
Oh, okay. Can I slip it beneath my robes and not look horribly awkward?
No, it's much too big for that. You could set it like behind the wall in the brig, but the prisoners can clearly see it.
Okay, in that case, Isaac will still be holding it, but he'll turn so his back is facing them, and he looks like he's just occupied working on something. And so Isaac is between them and the object.
All right, make a DC 8 sleight of hand check just to make sure that it doesn't flash in their direction.
Rolled a 7.
All right. Hero is going to catch sight of, so a lantern light from above is going to sort of swing on a wave, and the light is going to catch on the eye, slowly roving. Hero's going to, you'll see his face kind of like catch on it, and what is that? He says. What is what? Is Big is going to ask as he tries to like push Hero to the side to get into the stairhold. Hero's going to kind of like, he goes, nothing. He lies. All right, let's go ahead and roll. Okay. His Big goes, that big plate that looked like an eye, he says. As he's going to sort of, he's going to hit Roland like a wall. He stops about like 4 inches from you, and then he's going to kind of like look down all the way over you. You could tell that he was like used to just kind of like pushing people out of the way, but he doesn't try to push you out of the way. Instead, he's going to like shuffle to the side in the stairhold, and his girth is like inches away from your plate. He goes, excuse me, sir.
Who are you?
He goes, is big. Roll a persuasion check. If you roll a DC 12, that completely distracts him.
16.
Woohoo!
He goes,
Not for paladins.
it's a big honor, sir. He says as he puts his meaty hand out towards you. He goes, shake your Roland Tarkan's hand. It's a dream come true.
He hits his hand and then kind of moves to this, because I'm assuming he's obscuring Hero.
He's a big boy, yeah.
He kind of...
Hero's like around his calf.
Say, Hero would see my head just, like, this guy with you?
He goes, is big helped me carry the logs to make the fire so you guys could see. He says, he was shanghaied by the pirates. This looks like a rabbit. You see you would describe her as cute, with dark eyes. Meeks have very big eyes, but they have a lot of white in them. Looks like rabbits do not. They are much more rabbit-like than most, and she has her ears sort of in her hand and is sort of like rubbing them like a teddy bear. And you see her nose sort of sniffing, and she's kind of like shaking. Hero is going to sort of gently put his hand on her and try to like, hey, here. But she's not going to move. And then he sort of looks at you and gives like a little here she is. She's not going to come near you though.
Roland keeps his hand on, like, gripping his big's hand, and he says, you guys looking for beds?
I need a straight charisma roll, please. If you roll below a 6, something bad will happen.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, you can.
Okay, 18.
All right. As you try to present a unintimidating image, the golden meek is just going to stand there shivering in the doorway without any effect. But his big is like rocking you up and down with his shake. Isaac, you apparently have successfully obscured the eye, and Isbig seems highly distracted. You think you could just walk up the stairs at this point if you wanted to, but you would walk back up onto the deck.
Do you wanna?
Okay. I'm in the area of the ship where all the hammocks and cots are, right?
So that room, in between that room and the brig, is what's called the stairhold, which is like the middle of the ship's, the lower deck, but the middle. And that's where the stairs are, and it's probably a 8-foot room with 2 doors that lead to the sleeping quarters in the brig.
You said don't get higher.
Isaac's going to he's going to ascend to the top of the ship, and then once he gets up there, he's going to see wherever June is, and he's going to walk to the opposite end of the ship. You
head up the stairs towards the steering wheel then, because that's the opposite of where June is. You see Isaac leave, and Isbig is going to say, I can't believe that you now might be a hero. That's 2 of the world's greatest heroes together, he says. You're gonna see the Golden Meek adjacent to Hero is gonna sort of like be distracted as she like looks over at Hero. Your decent insight is going to suggest that she is feeling his emotions at this moment.
Mm-hmm. He just smiles at him and kind of gives Hero a glance.
Hero was so scared that he would have died on the ship and not gotten to apologize to you. You'll see a meek blush, sort of a rosy hue in his icy cheeks. He goes, couldn't think of nothing else he couldn't except getting back and apologizing for how he treated you.
It's fine. It's fine. You guys wanna?
You're gonna see Rabbit sort of perk up, and she says, "It's true. It's true." She says, "You all should apologize." She looks over at Hero. She says, "You should apologize. It's your chance."
Plenty of chances for this. Yo, follow me, guys.
Roll a disadvantaged persuasion check.
Oh my god, I just rolled a 1. Rolled a 1 and a 15, so real bad. So
You must be encountering some kind of meek cultural difference, because Hero seems peer pressured by the other two. He's going to step forward sort of resolutely and say, "Roland, what they say is true. When I thought I was going to die, I was really worried that I wouldn't get back to you to apologize for how I treated you. I didn't understand your decision that you made about Cayenne, but now that we fought together for Bridgewalk, I see that the stakes are much higher than I thought, and I need to apologize." He's going to reach out to sort of hug your waist.
he lets go of Isbig's hand and grabs Hero's arms before he can hug me, and gets down and to his level. It's okay, man. Completely understand.
Isbig is going to say, "You all should hug it out." You can tell that the two meeks seem much more comfortable in this situation. You think that maybe something about like strong emotions that they're feeling, that the emotions are out instead of causing anxiety to them.
All right, bring it in, man.
He has trouble hugging you around the shoulders, even from your lower position. But you are startled when Isbig's giant arms are going to course around the two of you. He says, "Oh, I love it when people make up," he says.
Okay, this is happening now.
Looks like a rabbit seems much calmer. Her eyes sort of lose a bit of the terror inside of them. And she's going to sort of place her hand reassuringly on Hero's shoulder. You're going to hear this sort of like breath from Hero. He says, I'm sorry.
It's okay, man. I understand.
Isaac, you head up into the starlight. You look up and see your eyes meet with the slightly mascaraed eyes of Western Fae. You will see a small expression cross her face, one of small distaste, but she is going to click her way over towards you. She will look down, see the eye that you are attempting to hide, and obviously ignores it to approach you for a conversation beneath the shade of the upper deck where the wheel is.
Western, it's been some time.
I was hoping to speak with you, Isaac.
And what about? It's late.
You're not asleep.
I often struggle to sleep nowadays. A little too excited about all this prophecy business.
Prophecy?
Alright, hold on. Is prophecy not common knowledge?
Nope. Nope. In fact, you shut her out of the planning meeting.
That we did. What about fate breaking? Is that something people know about yet? I guess a lot of people know about it because it's happening to them, but...
There are, it's not been publicly known up until this point. You guys have kept it fairly under wraps up till now. You told the Queen, and you've sent out letters to nation states, but whether or not they told their populaces, you haven't heard back about that. You're sure that people know, at least important people in advisor positions, but you're not sure if the general populace knows at the moment.
So, in that case, why does Western think that we're together as a group?
Western teams up with heroes all the time for missions, whether they're given by other nation states or prophecy. But yeah, she has no way of instantly knowing that.
Right. Okay. Western, remind me how you came across this crew and why you decided to help us.
Well, I'm not sure that really matters that much. The fact is, I'm here and I'm helping. Of my own accord, might I say. However, me and Roland go back many years, and he asked for my aid on this mission. And I was inclined to give it.
Very generous of you. You must have traveled far to get here.
I was already in Bridgewalk at the time, she says.
I see.
What
What
is
is
a
it you
man
wanted to
like
ask?
you doing here? She says.
I was also asked to join this crew and help out in what ways I could, much like yourself.
She's going to say a phrase then, one that will catch your interest. How far the crow flies.
Is that a phrase I've heard before?
Your cult referred to you as the crow when they speak about you.
How far indeed. This isn't a place I ever saw myself ending up. But here we are.
She says, I would like to make amends for what I think was a bit of unfounded aggression towards you when we first met.
I see. What was that?
She seems to think upon it for a moment. My family has a long history, as you surely know, in Selenox. In fact, we only lived 2 miles from where you live right now, about 4 generations ago, in the Golden Hills. I wrote to my family after I met with you, and I received a letter before we set wing from the Drakery, which I only got the chance to read a few moments ago. I asked for an explanation of the history between our 2 families. I was under the assumption that I should and had a great many reasons to dislike yours. And while that is eminently true, in fact, your great-grandfather, or she says your grandfather, put my great-great-grandfather out of his home. Do you remember the land grab? She asked. Did you learn about that in history?
I did. Why?
Well, your grandfather was one of 7 tiefling noble families who teamed up to force buy out my family's estate in order to capitalize the Golden Hills. That was the reason for my initial aggression against you. However, I have recently learned that when you fought in the Selenoxian civil wars, you fought on behalf of the nobility, and you saved my uncle's life. So,
I see.
I am,
So you've done your homework.
or at least the family historians did, she says. I am inclined then to let bygones be bygones between us.
I'll be honest. Your family is not one I've thought of in many years, ever since leaving the city behind. And furthermore, these sorts of ancient family squabblings don't mean much to me nowadays.
Oh? There's a hint of... not danger, but certainly a kind of sarcastic questioning.
I turn my head and look at her, looking away from the eye, and say, "Tell me, when you're out here, in the midst of these fights, do you still care about all that? There's so much more going on in the world outside of Selenox. Can you really still put any weight into these old family grudges?"
She is going to look at you. Roll an insight check, please.
18.
You will see a shadow and a weight fall down behind Westron's eyes. The sort of haughty dismissiveness leaves her. Sassiness is gone. There is only something like pain. And you will see that when she says, "Yes, I do care about it," that she means it.
Listen, I know about you, I know about your family, and I know about your history in particular.
Isaac Crowley,
But when-
you know nothing about me.
I do know that when you're here with us, none of that matters. No one else here understands what you've gone through, and even though I know what you've gone through, I'm not going to judge you for it. You need to leave it behind.
Roll a DC 27 persuasion check.
Ooh.
Can
Jesus.
you do it?
25.
That was such a good roll.
Bless yourself. I'm sure she won't notice.
She is going to look at you. You see a musing, sort of a humor, play. Your decent insight check is going to see her think about what you have said for a moment. Do me a favor, if you could. I know that you're a practical, utilitarian man. Roland has a bad habit of leaving his opponents alive. Could you take care of that problem for him, since you're traveling together closely?
Going forward? Gladly. I've noticed the same thing.
She says, "I believe you. Have a good day, Isaac. Or should I say a good night?" She's going to walk away from you.
You did kill the dragon. You killed the
I
dragon.
love how defensive you are about that.
But when it's humanoid, stop being a nice guy. Gosh, it's not good.
Juniper. Zarafan has his hand under his chin. He is touching and takes away the floating halo off his head and is sort of twisting it in between his fingers like a gigantic coin. You see the small arcane script written across it with every secret spy organization and sage organization on Mythia, all of the ones that he belongs to, carved across its surface.
June is currently breathing in through her nose and slowly breathing out through her mouth to chill out. Although her eyes are riveted on Isaac across the deck.
he got driven out by the meek. Zarafan says. I don't think we want them messing with it any more than we want him.
I agree. My concern is... what is it exactly? I know what it is, but like... She doesn't say what like, she says... I want to know the reason that bastard gave it to him. Is it another spy technique? Is it an attack?
He's going to step behind you and begins to give you a light massage on your shoulders, passively suggesting that your mind is frustrated, needs to calm down to work properly.
She breathes in and just kind of relaxes back into his hands.
You're going to feel, although you can't see them, the invisible wings wrap around you. He says, we're not going to be able to know if he throws it overboard.
I know.
He says, your anger may cause him to make a rash decision in order to placate you. Why don't you challenge him to a game of chess?
Only if he puts it somewhere else.
I'll take it.
You would take it even less.
I'll take it to Ferric, and he can take it back to Bridgewalk, and their sages can study it. After all, I think after he sleeps, he's going to take the drakes back anyway. They only have a couple of days of food. He says they only have a couple of days where they can go without food anyway.
She nods.
We'll give it to one of the Kenku. After all, it seemed to only react to you.
I wonder why.
So do I.
She has pure sarcasm when she says it.
Do you have an inkling of why it reacted to you?
She looks around. Is anybody near enough to understand what they're saying?
Not without the super hearing.
Do I know if any of them have that ability right now?
No. None of your group has super hearing.
Just checking! She turns so that her lips can't be read as well. She's again, they're still speaking in supernal, and I don't think anybody here even speaks that. But even so, she says, "You know if their kind was built to hunt?"
I do.
She just raises an eyebrow at him.
You realize that in your grand lifespan, of all the things that you have discussed, that information you are talking about took place before you met Zarafan.
She actually will pause, quirk her head, and goes, Have I never spoken to you of this?
I don't think so. Which is honestly novel.
Yeah, actually, June looks like she got hit back in the back of the head by a board, and she's like, wow, this is amazing! I didn't think this was possible!
You mean to say that you've been keeping this information from me for this long?
Well, it, I guess, occurred before I even met you.
What were you doing before you met me? Was this in the sphere or outside of the sphere?
So you mean the veil?
He would call it the sphere, thinking about the shield.
Gotcha, okay, she would say. Well, technically I still live there, yes.
That was not the answer to the question.
It clearly was obfuscating.
He says, I mean, obviously it matters a little bit, but does it matter that much anymore to keep it a secret?
I suppose not. Well, not with you.
Just habit, huh?
She shrugs and she goes, well, I have been having this habit for countless years.
Well, not countless. I mean, we can count them.
That's
This would take a long time.
fair. Did I ever speak to you about Cloud?
I don't believe so. I don't have as good of a memory as you, though.
If you do.
That was surprisingly smug for somebody who forgot to tell me something.
I'm
And
not sure.
apparently something important.
She pauses and she goes, You, of course, realize that my nature is different than that of the other fairies. I'm sure you've picked that up.
I mean, beyond the immortality, I knew... I honestly thought that you had gotten some special changes made by him.
No.
That's not the case?
No.
What did he do with you then, all those tutelage sessions?
He taught me, and we discussed things. I do not wish to speak of him, especially right now.
His name doesn't summon him from the pit.
Time never heals certain wounds, especially when you remember them as clearly as the day they happened.
You blocked my snarky message of when you can forget them, they heal easier.
Yes, well, when one is cursed with a perfect memory, that's not exactly...
Are we playing chess?
She leans her head back and looks up into his eyes, and she goes, Do you want to know the story or not?
Yes.
I made a wish. My first wish, ever.
From this cloud fellow.
He and his friends were the origin of the wish.
The Wishmasters.
Yes.
I remember Mazrian cursing about them.
Yes.
That was a long time ago, he says.
That it was.
That was just after the mists coalesced, right?
They came from beyond, the same as you. But they came after it closed.
The Wish is able to get through the barrier?
I've never tried.
For good reason.
Exactly.
I think getting out would be a lot messier than getting in.
Precisely.
Although I really don't have a lot of scientific proof for that.
I have a out-of-game cut. They left, right?
Yes.
Okay. She goes, however, they did leave.
They were being hunted by two factions, is that right? Both us and, I assume, the Guardians?
Of a sort, yes.
I know that Satan had special interest in somebody named Rain. Is that associated with this cloud?
Yes. They were my friends. They were the first beings I met outside of the veil.
Where? The area locally would actually be the Doom Rage nowadays.
Yes, she goes, I used to sneak out of the veil.
I'm aware.
Well, I met them during one of those forays. I wanted to see the new race.
The new race?
Back when the Dre were first being created.
I see. And these Wishmasters were among them?
No, they were observing.
They were observant. Like us?
Well, they were observing you too.
Continue.
She smiles and goes, I wanted to see the world. I ran into them. They assumed a form similar to ours, mine. They assumed that we were the dominant species outside of the angels. When she sighs and she goes, we traveled for a great deal of time, and eventually, before they left, I asked for a wish. And my wish was very open-ended. I wished to be like them. Mostly I wanted the ability to grant wishes, but I didn't quite grasp the meaning of what I said. It altered me.
It made you part Wishmaster.
Yes, which is why I hate that. I can feel it.
The Guardian technology recognizes you as one of them.
Yes.
And the Guardians... Guardians? We always wondered why they were called Guardians. Was it to guard from the Wishmasters?
Possibly. We never quite figured out why. It was only fairly recently that I discovered more about them. From the Wazalak.
Why weren't you more worried about Isaac with the technology in him?
Because normally it doesn't have an issue. It's usually dormant or it's not sentient.
It has been a very long time since one of them was
Active?
around, although apparently it was much sooner than I thought. He says, giving a meaningful glance at Isaac.
Yes, Isaac keeps getting side-eye from June. Like, it's harsh. You feel the burn, sir.
Isaac, there's just like 7 side eyes on Isaac right now.
He starts sneezing at the...
You have to cast Cure Disease. Am I sick?
I understand, he says.
I'll tell you more later, but...
Then perhaps it might be wise for me to do the studying on this piece. We've not had a... I don't know if it's live, but at least living piece of Guardian technology for a very long time. Although I do happen to wonder about the timing of this one. Just as fate breaks, we uncover a living piece.
Not to mention Pitt. And his fate.
Isaac seems to suggest that Pitt had been carrying it around for a long time. Maybe it became active after he took it.
It's possible. I mean, we know that the Guardians have some connection to the darkness.
I was wondering why he would risk the meeting with Isaac. But if the eye becomes active, and Pitt has carried it around for a long time, he likely has an inkling of fate's breaking. But he would want to know why it started, and I think that may be worth the risk of meeting with Isaac if he thinks Isaac would have some insight into that due to his technology. I wonder if he heard about that relic hunter business downstairs. When you were talking with...
June will sort through her memories quickly and try to remember if we ever spoke about that, or she, or anybody she heard spoke about that near any of the...
Yes, you, Posix, and Isaac spoke in the bedroom next to your... Well, you had your bags of holding on you at the time, and likely his range extended into that conversation. So he probably thought that Isaac was a relic hunter since he didn't dissuade Posix from that information, and might have known something about that technology.
June will tell Rafe that.
So he also was misinformed by Isaac.
Seems to be an ongoing trend.
But
he also knows about what we were looking for in the Doom Ridge. And Sumsall said he was heading there.
Why would he care?
I don't know.
Speaking of which, have you told the others about Pitt's fate?
I had intended to, but considering fire upon fire kept blasting us, no.
Well, if everything goes okay, we have 2 days of peace before we arrive back in Bridgewalk. Perhaps now would be a good time.
I agree. I'm concerned about...
Do you mind if I stop this? My hands are starting to cramp. He says, on your shoulders.
She goes, sure they are, but yes. She clearly doesn't believe him when he says that.
All right. How dare you get a cramp?
Oh, no. I mean, let's be honest. Considering past... I'm just going to stop now.
I was going there.
I need an adult.
What?
I said I need an adult.
I'm concerned about Danblith at the moment as well. I'm debating if I should tell them about my organization. If he knows, he'll use it against me soon enough, and I would prefer I tell them as opposed to it coming out otherwise. Especially considering Euphemia's character.
So you had a decent conversation on this last session.
Yeah, she just brings it up again.
He goes, I think that at least a warning would do well in this circumstance. This is the second time you've openly encountered Danblith. He's clearly become much more active since Fate's Breaking, ever since he got out Ace.
Speaking of, she looks at where he was bitten. How are you?
You are going to roll a perception check, please.
Yes, I should probably get a dice out. I'll get it out of a different box.
Do you need help opening it?
No, it's fine. I'll get it in a minute. I just didn't want to struggle with it on camera for a while. Oh, wow. I'm not very perceptive right now. She's very distracted. Hang on. Since it's him, can I roll twice?
No.
With advantage? Okay. 5?
You... Maybe it's your mind playing tricks on you, but the bite mark looks darker than previous.
What does he say?
He shrugs.
You'd tell me if something was wrong, right?
I feel okay, he says.
She narrows her eyes slightly and she goes, all right.
My 2 cents, or he says my 2 coppers, is that we tell them as soon as possible.
I agree. Can you please make sure that thing gets off the boat?
I'll talk to Isaac, he says.
And I'll go challenge him to a game of chess if that makes you happy.
I think that it would be a good idea.
She nods. She still keeps occasionally glancing at you, Isaac.
All right. It is getting fairly late at night at this point. It's almost 11 p.m. Isaac, you have to pretty much take over command of the ship because it's much too dark for those without dark vision to steer. And as you touch the ship, gaining control of its wooden beams and its sails, we will go ahead and call the session there for the time being, Noble Heroes. And please come back and join us soon. And remember, do try this at home.